So much going on. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Couch Conversations with the Doctors, where health is wealth. Thank you for tuning in. Want to remind you to share and share again because what? It's Monday night and it's Couch Conversations where health is wealth. We're going to go around the table as we always do, and we're going to introduce our esteemed panel that's here with us on this evening. To my co-worker, Dr. Douglas Graham, who is here, who usually leaves me to go have fun in the sun. Dr. Graham, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Now, wait a minute, Nikki. This is medically indicated. My vitamin D level is below normal. I got to get some sun. So anyway, I worked in the western suburbs of Chicago for about 30 years, and then spent a couple of years working with a congressman in his office in Washington, D.C. I'm going to try to answer your questions as best I can. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the man who I believe must own an art gallery, and he's a curator in his personal time. That's our very own Joseph Harrington.
Thank you, Nikki. It's a pleasure to be here once again. My background is varied. I've worked in education, mental health, but mostly public health and healthcare. Worked at three different hospitals. I worked first at the University of Illinois, then went to Mount Sinai, then went to Rush. But most of my work has been in public health. And I retired in 2017 as a regional health officer for Cook County, where I was also an administrative law judge.
Outstanding, outstanding. Want to say hi to Sister Bonnie, who is here with us on this evening, and also to Miss Doreen Morrow, who is here with us just as well. But I see the man who says that I threaten him to be here every Monday, but he always tends to be on time. That's our very own Dr. James Miller.
Good evening, everybody. I'm really happy to be here and participate in this discussion with my esteemed colleagues. I'm a internal medicine physician. However, I retired from clinical practice in 2019, still trying to heal the community, though in a different mode. And so we're here today to see what we can, to learn, first of all, and also to see what we can supply that may be helpful in terms of healing our community of the ills and problem that it is experiencing. So we're here to see what we can do to help.
Outstanding. I want to say hi to Audrey Jaycox, who is here with us, and she's saying hey to everyone that's here. To the guy who's representing a whole bunch of people here today, I see there's a Chicago Bears hat, there's a Rush shirt, but I don't see anything that says Premier Healthcare, and that's our very own Dr. Michael McGee. Dr. McGee.
Hey, Nikki, how you guys? And welcome to everyone else. I'm Mike McGee. I'm an ER doc by trade, practicing over in Gary in Maryville, Indiana. I'm also the CEO and president of Premier Health Network located in Hyde Park. Glad to be here. And also, Mr. Harrington, I actually did a master's in public health at U of I before medical school in epidemiology and biostats. So pleasure.
Okay. I'm afraid of you.
I see we have Melly Mel, who has chimed in from Cook County Hospital, and she's here with us, and she says hello to everyone that's here. To the man who multitasks, but he is an outstanding physician, but he's also a chef extraordinaire, and he's such a good daddy. That's our very own Dr. Pete. Dr. Pete.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to say thank you to yourself and to the congressman for creating this platform for the community to hear a variety of voices, particularly voices that looks a lot like their community. And I am repping. I didn't go to LSU. I went to Xavier, but this weekend LSU played Southern. And my nephew went to Southern. My daughter goes to LSU. LSU beat Southern 44-0. So I had to rep. Now I know my nephew's gonna get me, but so I was divided between my nephew and my daughter. So my daughter won, of course.
Family first.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I mean, but let's be honest. I mean, LSU. They have the likes of Joe Burrow, ODB. So, so it's crazy.
All right. And before you guys all start asking, Dr. Mason is on his way. Dr. Maya is on vacation, and Dr. Tony will be back with us on next week. And for the really smart person who just was Pete, my daddy, no, Dr. Thomas is not my daddy. I know I don't look a day over 17, but he is not my daddy.
Wow.
Say Papa was a Rolling Stone.
No comment.
No comment.
And the congressman actually is a little tied up this evening, and if he can make it, it's going to be late. But he sends his regards, and he says, "Go forth and remember to teach people that health is wealth." With that being said, Dr. Pete, why don't you start our general conversation that we have for this evening?
Yeah, absolutely, Nikki. So I think there's a few things. One, I just want to acknowledge Dr. McGee and his work in the community, and just a phenomenal businessman, along with being a physician, which many times those two don't always match. But we have a phenomenal brother who is both a phenomenal businessman and a physician. And so just want to give kudos to you, Mike. Even though you pledged the wrong fraternity, but that's okay. You're still my brother.
Hold up, where's it at? Look this way.
There you go. Yeah, I love it. D9. So
he's outnumbered tonight.
Yeah, you're outnumbered tonight, my boy.
It happens.
It happens to the best of us.
But he's part of the Divine Nine, so he's still family.
Right. Absolutely. So I Dr. McGee, I just want to open up the floor to you. If you could just share with us regarding the blood storage and sort of what are the latest issues regarding blood storage.
So, okay, man, where do we begin, right? We just got out of a pandemic where we've seen all kinds of things happening that explain where we are today in our society, with the increase in gun violence, the increase in social determinants of health affecting everybody. And what happened? We had people shut in. We had gun stores open. We had liquor stores open. We had drug stores, including drug paraphernalia, and the weed man was open. But then guess what? The American Red Cross didn't have people going to their house to give blood. And so what happened over those 2 years? We lost a lot of blood donations. And so now we had a critical low shortage all across the country. Mm-hmm. And who's affected the most? Black and brown communities. And the reason why is because, number one, most type O blood, which is the universal donor blood, are abundant in Black people. So if you have fewer Black people going to donate blood, you have fewer amounts of type O blood, which is universal blood, that will save your life when you have any of the following: a GI bleed, cancer, sickle cell, OBGYN emergency, a trauma from a car accident, and God forbid, a gunshot or stab wound where you need blood products. So now if you come to my little small ER in Gary, Indiana, and we're at a critical low, you come in with your blood pressure being 60/30, I may not have the blood products to save your wife who's hemorrhaging from a miscarriage, or your son who just was in a bad car accident. So to me, that is a critical situation that we all should be doing things all over the country to donate more blood. And so what we've done is 100 Black Men of Chicago has partnered with the Divine Nine of Chicago, as well as Chicago Black Nurses Association, as well as my organization, Premier Health Network, to have a blood drive on Sunday, September 18th at Malcolm X from 1 to 4. So we want any and everyone to sign up, go to the American Red Cross link and sign up to go and donate blood. And if you don't get there at this time, get there at some point before Christmas time comes, because we all can need blood at any given point in our life.
Mike, so do you know how, let's say pre-pandemic, African Americans donating blood, many times because of the trauma that our community has faced, everything gets related back to our trauma. And so some kind of way, sometimes when you're talking to patients, they'll figure out a way to be like, oh, no, that's their way of doing it. Is there any data to support what was the donation like prior to the pandemic?
I don't actually have the specific numbers, but as you know, with any and everything, we're always gonna not have a huge interest in doing things like this. We already have a fear of healthcare. We always have a fear of experimentations, which is why we always last to the door to get those new treatments that are out there. And so naturally, a lot of people don't like giving blood because they don't recognize the importance of it, which is why we're reframing it in a way that makes sense to them. Everybody Black has somebody with sickle cell in their family. Everybody has had a wife or a daughter or a girlfriend who may have had an OBGYN emergency. Everyone has experienced trauma in some kind of way. So I think it's the way we phrase it in order to get people to show that they are committed to this or have a responsibility to donate blood. And that's what we're doing. We're changing the whole narrative. In fact, American Red Cross on a national level has partnered with D9. They just had a huge ceremony back in August in Atlanta, where they officially had the presidents of all these organizations there. And so now it's a huge commitment from Greeks alone to go out and donate blood. And 100 Black men, I brokered that relationship with American Red Cross last year. And we've been doing all kinds of blood drives in multiple cities where we have 100 Black men chapters.
Yeah, Pete, if I could jump in.
Yeah.
You know, there's this old saying about jack of all trades, master of none. I was a donor recruiter for the American Red Cross early in my career. So one of the things that I'm familiar with is this whole thing of people in general being resistant to donate blood. And it's not as hard as people think. A blood donation takes maybe about 10 minutes, and human blood can only be made by human beings. And so it is vital for the life of other people and our brothers and our sisters. One of the things that happens is blood donations typically go down around holidays because people are less likely to donate around holidays. But also accidents go up around holidays, so there's a greater need for blood around holidays. There's also the fact that sickle cell patients do better when they get blood from someone that has a genetic makeup similar to theirs. Exactly. So if you're talking about sickle cell patients, African American, which are predominantly African American, they will do blood better getting blood from another African American. So there are countless reasons for people to donate. And I know people are hesitant because of past fears and past encounters with the medical community. But this is something important, and one donation can actually save 3 lives.
Right. 1 pint of blood can save 3 lives. That's important to remember for any and everyone.
Yeah,
this is so outstanding. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is so outstanding that you guys are sharing this particular information on tonight. One of Pete's colleagues and they say that they're all off work over at the course center. They're just watching together in the room, wanted to share this message. Thank you guys for sharing the message of talking about blood donation. As a physician, I never thought that my wife would need a blood transfusion because of fibroids. And this happened. So it is so important. This hits home for everyone. I see Chief Tally is here with us, and he's saying good evening to everyone. Kay Rita is here with us, and she's saying hello to all the doctors. Nellie Purnell is here, and she's saying good evening to everyone. Jeff Jackson is here, and he says, good evening, everyone. This is Jeff Jackson, board chair of 100 Black Men of Chicago, proud alum of the Ohio State University. All right, and Yolanda Williams is here with us this evening, and she says, good evening to everyone. But know that just on last week, we reached 1 million donations, not just of blood, but donations, period. There was the 1 million transplant that was done. So there were 1 million donations of either kidneys or hearts or something that needed to be donated to someone else to save a life. And we reached that goal, and we really want to stimulate other people. Start with blood. Start with blood, donate blood. As they say, three lives off 1 pint. But also know that if you can donate from a living donor a kidney, that may help someone, a family member. Do not be afraid. You are saving a life. So remember, this is so important. And also remember that minorities are lower on the totem for donation. So make sure that you are donating. Dr. Pete, you were about to say something.
No, Nikki, I think you make a good point. And I also just wanted to add to what you were saying, to say that I mean, I think one of the key messages from the pandemic was that how our health is all related. And so when there's a few people that's sick, and we ignore them, then eventually we all can become sick. And so this issue of having a low blood shortage, I think we should not take this lightly and learn from the messages from one of the many messages of the pandemic, which is, look, we got to take care of each other as a community, and some of that requires for us to approach our fears and anxiety, and some of the fears and anxiety are real, and we should pay attention. And I'm never saying don't pay attention and watch, but when you're hearing it from the voices of people that our job is to take care of our community, we've spent most of our careers doing that, and so we're not part of the Illuminati or whatever they call it. You know, I mean, look, this is another message to help take care of our community. Things that we don't believe in, you're not going to hear us talk about. And so this idea that this is a low blood shortage, I want to thank Dr. McGee for bringing this up, because I do want to, just really pay attention to this, because there's many fallouts of the pandemic. This is one. So just imagine what. So we need to be very, very proactive regarding this. And just
Pete,
yeah.
Think about this, right?
Yeah.
Think about the complications of COVID. Think about the long-term sequela of it. A lot of people got DVTs, and they got blood pulmonary embolisms and clots in their lungs, and they on blood thinners, right? So think about that, and then think about all the people with arrhythmias as a result of being on having COVID. A lot of people have arrhythmias where they have atrial fibrillation. They're on blood thinners. And now think about a nosebleed, which I see all the time. We have people coming in basically exsanguinating from their nose because they're on blood thinners, and now they lost a lot of blood and need blood products right away. Or they have a GI bleed or bleeding on the brain from being on blood thinners. There's so many reasons as to why we gotta have adequate supply of blood that it's a long list. I can't even give you all of them. Yeah. But if we all take responsibility for all of our families and our friends, we should all go out and give blood. It's quick, it's easy, takes about 10 minutes, and it doesn't cause you any harm.
Yeah, and I want to say too that, I mean, many of my patients who have sickle cell, I mean, sometimes it may not be necessarily a life or death situation, but it's a quality of life situation where patients feel so much better having their hemoglobin slightly higher. And, it's, like this person who is a productive citizen who needs to go to work. If you can imagine having this low hemoglobin, it's hard to do. It's hard to get up and wash your face when your blood count is so low. So just having that hemoglobin 2 points higher than what it usually is can really make a difference in these people's lives.
And it's
Dr. McGee.
Sickle cell month right now too, guys.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, but it's probably helpful for you to give people the details about what's happening Sunday once again. Because you said it, but
on Sunday,
it doesn't hurt to repeat it.
At Malcolm X College, right? And we're trying to get the whole school to also, they have flyers up. At Malcolm X College from 12 to 4, we partner with American Red Cross, which is 100 Black Men of Chicago, which is a mentoring organization, as well as all the different Greek organizations, all D9, are all bringing people out to donate blood, as well as the Chicago Black Nurses Association, and then Premier Health Network. We're all out trying to do these things, and we want people to come out and sign up. And all you have to do is you can go to redcrossblood.org, redcrossblood.org, and it'll pop up, and you can go on and sign up right now, today. We only have right now 50 people signed up. We want to do 150 people, and one person equals 1 pint of blood, which saves 3 lives each.
Well, I'll just say, one of the other issues that we, obviously with this important need for blood that we're having now since with the pandemic and the isolation of people and the change in people's behavior, gathering, promoting these important events become even more difficult. And so we really got to begin to also look at how do we do this in the present setting, because now is a time of need. And so we need to be able to, for instance, I used to do this at churches, but churches are audience are very small now. So we got to really figure out how we can get the message across to the people that we need to be getting this message across to. And I understand we can only use the modality that we're using, and this is one platform, but we got to figure out how we can get the faith-based community more involved in it, because again, that is an important tool in the Black community that reaches quite a few people, maybe not as many as they used to, but that is another group that we need to also reach out and to get this message to them and ask for their assistance in terms of helping us with this.
Yes, sir.
Well, Dr. Miller, I love that statement just made. Dr. Deacon Miller, who can heal with his hand, but also pray for you at the same time. So I appreciate that. We also have Pastor Kyles here of Hope Excel School, and she talks about how, yes, people with sickle cell endure serious pain when they are in crisis. So I know she will definitely help and aid over at her church and even throughout the school to inform people to give blood to help those patients who may be in crisis. One thing I love, and she's here with us on tonight, Virginia Knight, the retired owner of hair mechanics. She always used to brag about how Dr. Mason would come out and he would teach the ladies in the beauty salon about breast cancer and how to do self-exams. And she torched throughout the hairstyling community. So I want her to step on and help us share how we can make our community healthier by donating blood. Also, we have Mr. Carl here who says we have to understand why African Americans are hesitant to give blood and get them over it. What's the hesitation?
Well, I don't think it's any different than the hesitation you saw with COVID, and still we have some problems getting our people to take advantage of the treatments that are available for COVID. So it's the same mistrust, historical mistrust of authorities in general and the medical community specifically. And so this is something that at some point, hopefully we can combat and get more people to understand that there are people like us that look like them, have some of the same experiences they do, that are in the system, that are ready to help and help in any way we can.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Mr. Carl, why don't you chime in with some resources or some thoughts that you may have can aid in getting our community over this area. Dr. Pete, go right ahead.
Yeah, and so that's one of the reasons why I started with that statement, because, again, many people know I ran Project Brotherhood at county for many years. And so, I mean, it was a common theme that people would delay their care. A lot of our men would delay their care due to the fact that there was a huge mistrust in the medical community. So I think it's important as healthcare providers that we not dismiss their concerns, right? So we want critical thinking to happen, and we think that there's enough historical reference for them to be concerned. What we're saying is that just because we recognize that the historical trauma that's happened to our community, and we should be cautious. But when you can hear where the benefit will benefit your community, this is not benefiting somebody else. This is benefiting us. And when we're likely to be just like the beneficiary, but we're likely to be the sort of, we're going to be the victim of this if we don't get our blood supplies up. And I dare say that in many times, like there's a saying that we used to say, and that is, if America has a cold, Black folks got the flu. So if we have an overall shortage, guess who's going to be the most primary victim in this? It's going to be us. People who are getting into car accidents might see it all the time. People getting shot and trauma and stabbed and stuff like that. Those are young brothers who will need us to provide care for them. And without an adequate blood supply, I mean, that really jeopardizes our ability to improve their health outcomes.
So it's a systemic problem, right? So many inequities of health affect Black and brown communities for years that it's going to take a while to overcome that trust that's been built up through time. But you
Mhm.
start with getting people that look like them to be the messenger, right? And that's what we have not been doing. And that's why I'm thankful that American Red Cross are even seeking out organizations like D9 and 100 Black Men to make that connection, because we got to be the one to deliver these messages. And we're more inclined to have Black and brown people to trust us than they are with any other Joe Blow. And so I think more of us need to get out there and do this, because I can only do so much. We need to have these networks like what you're doing today. We should have 2,000 people on here today, because you guys are a trusted source and a trusted messenger, especially with Congressman Danny Davis, that I think this link should be shown and should be given out to all Black and brown communities, including the youth, who we tend to miss. We got to get them where they are for them to get the message. Otherwise, they won't. And there's a lot of misinformation that they'll continue to carry into adulthood.
Yeah. Mike, do you know, like, is there anything that, are there any people that probably should not donate blood? Like, are there any particular demographic or any sort of, you have any sort of disease process who should not be donating blood?
I mean, obviously, if you're a known HIV patient, you should not try to donate blood. If you have known hepatitis, you should not try to donate blood. They're going to test for that. A matter of fact, a lot of times people get their health problems found out when they go and they have to take vital signs. They have to check your blood. They may find that you're anemic.
Yeah.
You may not know that your hemoglobin is 7, and anything below 7 needs a blood transfusion, by the way. Yeah. Normal hemoglobin count for men and women are a little different. Men's a little bit higher, from like 12 to 14. Women are like 11 to 13 because of their menstrual cycles. But when you're getting down below 10 and 11 or 10 and 9, you can have some slow seepage from colon cancer that you don't even know you have. You can have, fibroids that you don't know you have. But when you get to that 7 hemoglobin, that's critical. At that point, you're going to feel some symptoms. You're going to have more fatigue, more shortness of breath. You may not be able to go and run 3 miles like you used to. You may be looking white, and you may have pallor around your eyes where it's faint. Your fingers may not have good cap refill, where it may not turn pink when you press. So a lot of things that you may have going on that you may get discovered when you go and donate blood.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great thought. Hope Excel says, yes, people with sickle cell endure serious pain when they have a crisis. So we appreciate you sharing that, and you're absolutely right. And having their hemoglobin or replacing those damaged cells with regular hemoglobin cells is definitely a benefit. Ms. Talley says, how do we fight the fear of donating blood, like continuing to bleed or physical weakness? What anybody wants to share? What do you say to community members that say, hey, if I donate blood, will I keep bleeding and will I feel weak?
Well, my answer to that, as Dr. McGee spoke, I mean, if you're at risk, you're going to be checked prior to you donating blood. So if you're at risk, they won't accept the blood from you. So there's no risk of you going to donate blood. There's only benefit actually to be gained from going, because the first one would be that if something is wrong, it can be discovered if you may not have known. And second of all, that if you're fine, you can provide a product that's so needed. And I don't know anybody who really should not be happy about saving lives and keeping people from being ill. So there's no downsides to this. This is all a positive thing. So there should be no fear of that something bad is going to happen to you because you donate blood.
And by the way, guys, they're not taking out a whole liter of blood, right? They're taking out, when you come to my ER, my nurse is going to attack you and get about 5 to 6 tubes of blood, and you're going to be fine after that. And that's what they're going to do when you go and give blood with the American Red Cross. It's about 6 tubes of blood. It's not a lot. It's a pint. It's not a lot. It may seem like a lot. You may feel like you're going to get woozy from it, But I mean, they put a little bitty Band-Aid on, and the bleeding stops automatically unless you have a blood clotting problem, which most people don't have, and you would have known that by now.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, like they just said, that's why we have to have more than, if our target number is 50, we want about 70 people to go, because about 15 to 20 of them are going to get weeded out because of some problems with their blood, some clotting factors, some things that they find that you are not a good applicant to be a donor. So that's what we have to take into consideration as well. You have to almost overbook, because some people are going to selectively weed out. Your blood pressure may be too high, and they won't draw your blood if your blood pressure too high. You know, your glucose level may be too low. There's a lot of reasons as why you may not even be able to give blood. That's why we need more people doing it.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So we just sort of outlined. I mean, it's a no-brainer now, because it's like, oh, to donate blood, you're helping someone else, but then you may also help yourself by finding out something that you didn't previously know. And of course, the earlier we find out about things in healthcare, the earlier we find out about, the better we can help you. So this idea of finding out that you have a low blood count before you get short of breath, before you start having weakness and fatigue, that's great. Carl Touch shared with us, which is great. Maybe having African American healthcare providers administer the blood drive and promote it is great. And that's what we just said. Just having 100 Black men, having Premier help to support this D9, that's exactly what we need. And then of course this forum sharing as well.
I just
to add to that, you get a $25 gift certificate and a T-shirt and a donut. You get
Mike, remember, how you gonna leave that out? Wait a minute. You don't leave out the gift certificate.
Sign me up.
Nikki, start the show.
I just took a quick look online, and this is data from the American Red Cross. Each year, an estimated 6.8 million people in the United States donate blood. 13.6 million units of whole blood and red blood cells are collected in the U.S. in a year. So if you have 6.8 million people donating a year, obviously there's something going on that's working for those 6.8 million people. I've personally donated blood. I think some of the other people around here have also personally donated blood. The only problem I've had is sometimes I get a slight, what they call hematoma, bruise around the site where the blood was drawn. I've never had to wait longer than the allotted time to actually leave. I've never been dizzy. I've never felt weak. That may happen with some people, but I'm speaking from personal experience. I've never had any significant problem as a result of donating blood. And I would venture to guess the 6.8 million people that donated last year, of that number, very few had any significant problems with donating blood.
And I'd just like to add one thing. You know, sometimes people have reservation when they give up something. Am I going to be? When I give my blood, am I going to be a shortage? So the thing here is that your bone marrow, in your body is a manufacturer, and it will replace and it will duplicate what you have just given up in a very short period of time. You won't miss it. You won't have an opportunity to miss it, because once the blood volume goes down, it knows to go into action and to turn up the generation process. So it's not like if you give blood that you're going to feel a period of time where you're short. You won't be short. You'll be fine, because your body will replace what you need, which it does every day, because we all have blood cells that die within our body because they only have a certain lifespan. So it continue to replenish. And when you give some as a donation, it will replenish. So if that's a fear, you need not worry about that as well.
We have the one and only urologist for the stars has arrived. The one and only Dr. Terry Mason.
Dr. Mason. I need to quit. Yeah, I need to quit. I was just on another conference call with CPAS, a program called Creating Pathways for Academic Student Success, as we try and build out these pipeline programs at the different colleges and universities around to provide students with what they need in order to successfully matriculate and pass and get into the different, get through the MCATs and all the other stuff that we need. Because we got a big problem going on, man. We got a big problem. The days of seeing the kinds of numbers of students that I saw in medical school that looked like me when I was at University of Illinois, we had 36 African American freshmen at the U of I when I started in 1974. And I can tell you it's not that way anymore. And then there's some other things that probably aren't the right place to discuss right here in this forum. But I can tell you that even though that we might be making strides in getting people in, getting them out is a challenge. But the bigger challenge is now making sure that when they're done, they can get a residency. Because now we have gatekeepers who are being extremely selective about who gets into the programs, even at places like county. So there's a whole nother thing that we've got to do to work together to make sure that deserving students get an opportunity.
And Dr. Mason, why your comment is so important is even our community audience has said that they think it's important that we have African American healthcare providers talk about blood shortages and why it's important that we donate blood. And so it's telling that you just got off this phone call and you're working with an organization, CPAS, to help provide more African American or support for more African American doctors, because again, it's unfortunately the numbers are not headed in the right direction in terms of getting us the healthcare providers. I remember being a young person that was going through and looking at you and several other, Dr. Miller. I remember just seeing your faces and thinking to myself, I can do that. But if they don't see me and Mike and people that are out here, they don't see us, then it's crazy, but you can't see you can't be what you can't see or what you don't see.
And I'll say this, and I have to hop off. I have another meeting, but Dr. Mason is absolutely correct. Affirmative action programs have been faded out. A lot of these universities don't have to take a certain quota of Black people to get into schools. And what happens is even our younger kids, they're being distracted by all the things around them. So they don't even get to see someone who's in the medical field that looks like them. So it's not even on their radar that they can be a physician or nurse or nurse practitioner or PA. The other thing is we don't have any Black people going into research, which is where all these trials, clinical trials come that will make Black people trust getting into clinical trials. And so when you have a white person say, hey, we need you to be in this study, they automatically think back to Tuskegee when most of them weren't even born. But that information has carried over the generations. And so it's a huge problem. And you think that after what happened in 2020 with the discovery of systemic racism and structural racism, that everybody will be paying attention, that we can reverse some of these trends. It's not happening. We have a dichotomy and people are not recognizing, hey, we're trying to get more Black people into medical school, so you as a white person don't got to go to those areas because we are more inclined to go to Gary and to the inner cities and provide good service. If you don't have it, who's going to do it? Because our white counterpart don't necessarily want to go there. Some do, some, I won't say they all don't, but in general, who's more likely inclined to go to those neighborhoods and serve? Someone that looks like them.
Yeah, I can remember. And so
Doreen,
go ahead, Dr. Mason. When I was growing up, that 75th Street used to be one of the major boulevards for African American physicians. 200 East 75th Street, the entire building was filled with African American physicians. John Palmer, the orthopedic surgeons, the dermatologists, P.C. Williams, the internists, Ellsworth Hasbrock general surgeons. You had all kinds of people. At 3233 South King Drive, you had Reuben Nichols and you had the colonel. What is his name? Cunningham, Dr. Cunningham. and you had the dentists, Kimbrough, Tanners, and Roger up there. We had that, and now you look. You used to go down Stony Island. You could go to Freddie Daniels and Gomez Charleston, and not only that, you think of a place to just show you. And I don't mean to take all this time, but you look at a place like Michael Reese Hospital. Michael Reese was a 1,000 bed hospital. 1,000 bed hospital. I did part of my residency training in urology at a wonderful teaching, one of the stellar teaching hospitals that we had, not just on the South Side, but in the city of Chicago. Mercy Hospital, 526 beds. So now we're looking at over 1,500 beds that aren't even there anymore. In fact, most of the young people, if you go over to where Michael Reese used to be, you wouldn't even know there was a hospital ever there.
Right.
And if you look at the number of people who trained at these places or had some of their training at their places, and a lot of the training opportunities are not what they used to be either for folks to come through. So all of the folks else, we have to do what we need to do to make sure that we have opportunities for training, because you got to remember, Nathaniel Wesley wrote a book looking at African-American hospitals across the country. And when I was born, there were 400 Black hospitals across the country. 400. Today, there's 0. Maybe Howard, if you want to count Howard University. But that's about it. We have to think critically about what role segregation and or integration, probably more importantly, played in the demise of our teaching institutions, of our training programs, and things of that nature. Because the reason we had these programs, because we couldn't get any other ones before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we fooled around and went, when they opened the doors a little bit, then we ran in, we closed all ours up, and now we're back in the same place that we were before.
Yeah.
And I'll stop right there.
Yeah, I just want to share a personal story. And this is something I heard from Dr. Eric Whitaker. He was on a panel, and Dr. Mason was one of the panelists as well. And he told the story that when he was a high school student, he was a doorman at Michael Reese Hospital, and he used to open the door for this young resident who inspired him, and that was Dr. Terry Mason. That's the history and the legacy we have. So it's an example of you can't be what you can't see. So Dr. Mason played that role for Dr. Whitaker, and Dr. Whitaker is building off that to try to get more people, Black people and Black men, very specifically, into medical school.
Yeah. As I introduced myself, I talked about what my role is in trying to continue to heal the community, and that is as I venture to do those things. One of the things that I do recognize is that, unlike it was in the late 60s, early 70s, that there were people, physicians, and other professional people right in the community where the community that we're talking about. Some of them even lived in those communities that are not there now. And we have to really come up with other ways to be able to connect to the youth in the community, and so that we can be seen. Otherwise, they, as you said, out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't really register that that's something I need to do. And then when their encounter is with somebody, if I see somebody doing something and it's never a person that looks like me, then how am I going to imagine myself being in that position? And that just, that was a part of the problem. So what I have attempted to do is to take it out of, since I'm not practicing clinical medicine, so I do try to do quite a bit in terms of visiting middle schools, high schools, and giving talks about things that it's not the talk that is as important. It is being there, being visible to young people, to show them and to tell them that there are other folks that are doing things, and maybe you need to begin to look at that and see yourself in that light, and it might not be in your eyesight, but it's there. There's an opportunity, and certainly there's a big need if we want to be able to fix some of the ills that are very prevalent in our community. We're going to have to really get out, and it's also, like you said, the retired physician and even physicians that are working. We got to go into the hedges and highways and begin to speak about what need to be spoken about to the people that don't see this otherwise.
Yeah, I think these two are not separate. They're very much related because we do have a health crisis of blood shortage as a result of the pandemic and people being locked up and not being able to, not to say locked up, but on lockdown, and this idea that there's not enough of us controlling the narrative around why it's important for any particular health behavior, right? So it's healthy for us to support having a reasonable amount of blood supply for people who might need it, particularly people with blood dyscrasias like sickle cell, right? Who are predominantly African Americans. So then African American healthcare providers need to generate that conversation. I had one of my patients, I won't ever forget, told me, "Oh, Dr. Thomas, I stopped smoking." And I'm looking for the medication that I put them on. And when I said, "Oh, what are you taking? You taking nicotine patch? Are you taking Zyban or Chantix, whatever?" And he said, "No, you told me to." And I thought, wow, the power of that, and it just became surreal. Now, by that time, maybe I'd been a doctor maybe 10 years. I'm thinking to myself, it had never occurred to me that he said, "You told me to."
Yeah, the power of your suggestion.
Yes. And so I and I get people all the time that will say, they want me to do this study. What do you think?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely, Terry, shout out to you. I know you retired, but you still helping us because and I tell young people who want to rotate with me, and they've been told very bad messages coming from really they're talented, coming from good schools. They've been told, don't apply to med school, think about something else. Your GPA is not high enough. I'm thinking to myself, I heard the exact opposite messages. And who knows, maybe some of those people that told me you would be a great doctor. I mean, I literally heard the exact opposite. And so it's disheartening to hear that our young people are hearing this. So it's important that we have organizations like CPAS and that we can do whatever we can to help provide that critical mass number of African-American healthcare providers that are able to contrast the message that you can't do it, or think about something else for you. And then not to mention the conversation that's happening, which is because some kids are thinking, well, Elon Musk said, I don't need to go to college. That all you need to do is just develop some skill sets. I'm like, Elon Musk said that, huh? Well, there's some critical differences between Elon Musk and you. So, you better go ahead and go on to college, okay? Because your chances are a lot better with a college degree than without one. So we have a few comments on the side, and many of them we've already addressed. Jeff Jackson said, "Hey, list the benefits against the myths. Our community needs to understand the benefits of blood donation, and many have mentioned those tonight." Carl Tuck has said, you can give blood as early as 16 years old, and it would be a community service activities, which you need to graduate from high school. So we need to promote that as a way. Then Dorothy Murphy said, "Yes, Dr. Mason, we're worse off." Let's see here. So then Bonnie Smedley said, "So true." Mary Ballinger, good evening, everyone. So yeah, I think people are right with us that it's critical that we approach one Sunday at Malcolm X, D9, the Divine Nine, all of the Black Greek letter organizations are supporting this. 100 Black Men is sponsoring this along with the Red Cross to get as many people as possible. There's only 50 people that signed up now. You know, we need more than 50 people. So if we can just set a goal that we have 250, because as we demonstrated tonight on the panel, which was that many of the people that will come may not be able to donate because they themselves might be made aware of some health condition that they might need not to donate blood at that time, which is a good thing, because had they just been sitting at home, nobody would know that they, that they themselves are anemic or whatever. And so this idea that if 50 only signed up, maybe 30 might be able to really donate blood. So we need to shoot for a higher number, like 250, and promote them amongst our chapters. I'm going to tell the alphas about them. And, I'm sure Mike's going to have the kappas there, and we can let the omegas and everybody else know. My wife would tell the deltas and stuff. So this is very important, guys. And if you're a part of organization, your churches, please share that with them. I'm going to get in touch with Mike to get something official so I can send it out like as an email, like flyer or something, so we can have the doors busted open.
Pete, I just wanted to say, and I'm sure you probably talked about this, but as a surgeon, I spent 26 years as a surgeon right here in the city of Chicago. And part of that time you learn to do general surgery as part of your training to becoming a specialist. And part of that time I spent in the trauma unit. And when you're in the trauma unit and you get these people, young people, older people that come in shot or stabbed, you have no idea how fast you can bleed. You have no idea. You should, if you want to get an idea how fast you go turn on your kitchen sink, turn the levers as much as you possibly can, and see how fast the water runs out, depending on which artery is damaged or vein, because if it's a big enough vein, it'll do the same thing. That's how fast that blood comes out. And you figure they may bleed out 10 units of blood in 5 minutes. So depending on what's going on, obviously I'm not talking about the person with sickle cell trait or somebody like that. I'm talking about the trauma, or sometimes in surgery when things happen in surgery. So we want to make certain that there's adequate blood supply for that, and particularly those people who are O negative, as you might have mentioned, because everybody you can give anybody O negative blood. And so really, I plan to donate this time too, but really do it because you know what? You never know who may need that blood. Hopefully it won't be you. Hopefully it won't be your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, but you don't have to be involved in bad things. You could just have a car accident. You could have a car accident and something could happen. Or many of our people are taking blood thinners now for various and sundry things, for blood clots. They got a blood clot in their leg, and they got one that may have traveled to the lung. And if they get cut, they bleed a lot too.
Absolutely.
So let's make sure that we do everything. Ain't no cavalry coming, y'all. We need to just understand, ain't no cavalry coming.
We are the cavalry.
Ain't getting killed.
Now, I just one more thing. I mean, we talk about the emergencies, but even people that are going for elective surgery, blood has to be available. Otherwise, the surgery get delayed. And so, so so we got the emergency situation, but you got just regular things that are going on every day where there's a need for blood. So it's so vital and so important, and the urgency of donation is there, and we need to really address that and to do what we can. I'm going to be speaking to some of the churches. Now, the only thing, Sunday hours are probably going to be bad for this, but we could see if we can sort of hook up and make certain that we, get the word around and get people motivated and get some movement going, because again, this is an urgent and necessary endeavor.
Yeah, I just went online, so I found the details. I can't put them in the chat, but the blood drive is Sunday, September the 18th, 1 to 4 p.m., Malcolm X College. 1900 West Jackson Boulevard, Chicago, Illinois, 60612. And that's September the 18th, 1 to 4 p.m. And you can probably find it on the website of the Red Cross Chicago.
Okay.
And I take it back. We are the Buffalo Soldiers of health, public health, and medicine.
Yeah, that's great. And then thank you for sharing that, Joe. We had a question about which blood type it has the greatest need. So that would be type O blood. 40% of the US population has type O blood. Most of African Americans have type O blood. So it's definitely, you heard it from yourself. Mike talked about it. Dr. McGee talked about it, but you heard from a surgeon himself. Dr. Terry Mason said it. You know, when people are going for these surgeries, they really do need blood, and things happen. You know, arteries get nicked and things like that, and then sometimes it's not even someone nicked the artery. It's just that somebody, a very close friend of mine, passed away from post-op complications and bled a lot, and so you don't think about what could happen from this, you know. And it's just very important that we share this message, especially as African American healthcare providers. You know, again, I told you, my patient said, I stopped smoking because you told me to. I was like, okay. And listen, from that point on, I would start all my sort of smoking cessation, like talks or whatever. When I would address the smoking, I would say, stop smoking. And then I would get into the data behind why it's important, and we can start you on this. I would make one statement: stop smoking. And you're gonna be surprised at this. I didn't do it. And now this is not hardcore data here. This is just anecdotal. I would get more and more people that just said, I would say, well, so where's the Chantix? Where's the Alderman? No, you told me to. So it's this idea that there is power in having people that look like them to make a statement regarding their health outcomes and what they should do to improve their health. So I'm looking forward to having 250 people donate blood. I'll spread the word on my social media platforms and see if we can get these doors busting open. And by the way, there's a gift certificate. Did anybody say that again? There's $25 gift certificate. Okay. And orange juice
and a t-shirt with my face on it. Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Come on now. For real. Don't be having people show up there and be like, where's my Nikki t-shirt at? And you're like, hey, Nikki said that. It's $25 gift certificate for you, though.
No, my face is not on the t-shirt, but there is a t-shirt. My face just isn't on it. Okay, but there is a t-shirt along with your $25 gift certificate.
Right.
This has been simply fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this has been simply fantastic. Want to remind you that September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Yes, it is. It's Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Want to say hey to Jack Lynch, who's here with us. He said, I will be there to donate. Thank you so much, Jack. We kind of recognized you guys a little earlier in the conversation when we talked about the great defeat that we had. We call it defeat? No, with the great championship that we had on last week when we actually had our millionth donee or a heart or a lung or whatever it was, but we reached that goal on last week and we saved some lives. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for all of the great work that you do at Gift of Hope. So I want to remind people just to get out and give blood. It is so important. And if you are a living donor and can donate a kidney to someone who may need it, contact Gift of Hope. It is so important to save someone else's life if you have that ability. So want to make sure you do it. Jeff Jackson says, thank you all for your outstanding and very timely discussion. I hope to see you all on Sunday. That is fantastic. We're going to try to be out there to support just as well. Remembering once again that September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And on October 17th, we want you guys to save the date. October 17th, there's going to be an outstanding conversation and movie screening about sickle cell and our providers and what we can do to make things better. And we'll also have very important policymakers there from the federal government and the state government to talk about things that we can do. Now, remember, community, you got to come out. You have to be there. If you want to make changes, let your voices be heard. So save the date, October 17th. That's Monday, October 17th. And we will make sure that we share the venue and everything with you at that time. And we want you there. You cannot complain if you are not there. So don't just.
I think Nikki got frozen. So definitely support, come out to the community meeting, and you gotta show up so we can hear your voice. Nikki, you want to go ahead and finish?
Yeah, as we always do, we go around the table at the end and say your until next Monday. So Joe Harrington, what's your until next Monday?
Save a life, donate blood.
Yep.
All right. Dr. Graham, your until next Monday.
Well, I wish I could say the same thing, but we're in flu season now. So it's probably time to get your flu shot. And a couple weeks later, get your boosters. It's the only way to beat COVID, and it makes a difference. If you haven't been boosted, you're twice as likely to end up in the hospital as people who've been boosted. So it does make a difference.
I'm getting mine tomorrow.
Yeah.
Flu and my next booster.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. There we go. Dr. Miller, your until next Monday.
I'm going to really just go ahead and echo. I think that we can't sing too much or too loud about what's needed. And I'm going to echo Joe. Get out and give blood. It's not going to hurt you. And it's going to help somebody else. And maybe that's something. And maybe by your giving, you'll stimulate somebody else. And when your need comes, that again, that your need can be met with the blood that you need. So get out and give blood because it's so needed right now.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mason, your until next Monday.
I have to echo what my colleagues have said. You know, ain't no cavalry coming, y'all. We it. And if we don't do it, it ain't going, if you can pardon my colloquialisms, it ain't going to get did. So, you know, we ain't got nobody to complain about or complain to but us. And if we don't do it, there's enough of us to do what needs to be did. So we need to do it. And I thank you in advance for doing so.
Okay, Dr. Pete, you're until next Monday.
Well, I hate to break the other news to you, which is, you know, monkeypox is a huge issue. Although the numbers are coming down, we just need to be hyper vigilant. People that we think could benefit from the vaccine, from Janille's vaccine, there's a small shortage or a small supply, I should say. So we are reserving the vaccine for the people that are most at risk, and just want to make sure people get their vaccine for monkeypox. And for the predominant community, get your booster. And for the predominant community, make sure that you get your flu shot. And Sunday, come out and donate blood at Malcolm X.
Outstanding. And remember, I love the fact that Pete shared about monkeypox numbers going down and making sure that you get your booster from everyone here. But I want to just reiterate, make sure you get your COVID-19 booster. COVID numbers are going up. And COVID has a lot of cousins out here. He has a lot of variants. Those are his cousins. And since school started 3 weeks ago, we have actually tripled in numbers just inside the city of Chicago, going from 374 positives to over 1,700 current positives with COVID. So remember, if you're in a place and you don't think that there's herd immunity there, this thing will save your life. So make sure you continue to mask up. If you feel that you need to mask up, mask up. If you're the only one in the room with the mask on, it's okay. Mask up. If you feel you need to be masked, follow your first mind, and then make sure that you get your booster. We're going to also have another pop-up booster event that we're going to make sure that the new booster is out and that you get it. The Congressman's office, we will be providing another booster pop-up coming up shortly. We will make sure we share that information with you. And once again, mark your calendars for October 17th, Monday, October 17th. Until then, next Monday, see you right here.